Let's have some fun. I created this melody just as an exercise. Now let's have some fun with this. I will export this to Reaper and we'll go from there. Alright, this is Reaper now. I have impactsoundworks library that I'm using. I've done another video on it, and this is a cost-effective library, but we'll play with it today and see how can we orchestrate this line. So we'll start with the string unisons, and we'll mute the chord. So, okay, it needs work. Let's enable the chords. Basically, that's the colors. Doesn't make sense. We did not construct our chord correctly, so let's just not use that for now. But I'm gonna duplicate the unison and separate the bass. Little bit better, but we can take it further. Let us extend some of the notes. And those, they're the same notes, so they can carry over. I'm trying to count how many lines we have. Like it should be three voices. This one is a bit tricky. How far shall we extend it? Because it will create dissonance with the C. Trying to imagine how it sounds in my head. It's okay if it sounds incorrect. You try it out and you learn. It's barely noticeable, so I think I'm going to keep it. Yeah, so we can continue this process. You may see me moving the mouse. I recorded this without voice. I thought that the microphone was on, but it was not. So you may see me trying to say something with the mouse when I'm not really talking. Okay, let's try. Let's see what we have here. Another thing we can do is move the top line to another section, and I'll be doing that. But for now, I'm trying to extend them so that they sound more like connected. That note did not sound correctly because it's overlapping. MuseScore 4 will export the MIDI better with less gaps between the notes. But I want to keep that emphasis on that note. So here, the dynamics, obviously the volume is not controlling that. These are sustain notes, and we have to use the controller dynamics. So if I choose velocity here instead of the controller, for the sustain, it doesn't work. You have to use, I guess, the controller. It works for the other shorts and the staccato, for example. You can turn it on to use velocity dynamics. And you can use also your controller, MIDI controller, to control the dynamics. Although for shorts it may be easier to do it by note by velocity. That's easier way, honestly. So that's how it sounds with a controller. Of course, I'm taking it to the extremes just to show you the range of the dynamics. So here I'm duplicating the sections, and I will keep, first I want to replicate the cello and the bass, to mimic some orchestra sections. So you hear the bass, it's very low here. It's subtle and nice, but we can, actually I want the cello back. We can turn off the violin, just keep the cello and the bass here. I'm thinking maybe we want to increase the low frequencies of the bass. So here, because this is simulating now a section, I want it to only be the violin and violas. So I turned off the bass and the cello. And I'm going to create two sections. For the first section, I will keep the middle lines. So that can be like the violas and the violin section 1. And I have to basically make sure that I have two voices everywhere. And for this one, this is going to be my second violin section, so I'm keeping only the violins. And maybe I'll pan this violins and violas, pan it a little bit to the left, just to create separation between the sections. And maybe it has lower volume, for example. If this is section 2, maybe they play weaker, or maybe you want to say these are two sections and they should be louder compared to the remaining section. So here I notice that I have an extra line that belongs to the other section. But wait a minute, that's a B or an E? That's a B. This still doesn't feel right. It's like it's in the wrong place. So let me just copy and paste. You're seeing me here working live on this improvised. There you go. So I'm going to, playing with the microphones to give that section closer feel, because they're kind of playing the main melody and I want the remaining to be supporting. So this will get highlighted in a different way, focusing on the high frequencies so that the main line, appears. And again, if you see me doing something wrong, let me know. So now the dynamic controller was set to 0. You can hear only the bass. See, when I move the controller, comes back on. So some notes were not playing because they were too low, and that's the line for the cello. So if I move everything an octave higher, they are in the correct range for the sections. See, this is subtle and quiet compared to the other. Maybe I want to increase the volume a bit. I'm naming the sections, so I have my bass, I'm calling it here section 2, which can be the violins and violas. You can make even 3 sections. One thing you have to be careful about though, if you have multiple sections in a library, like what I'm doing here, you do not want to play the same note using the same library. It will create phasing issues. So as long as you're playing different notes, you're fine. So unless you're playing same note in different articulation because you know they're recorded differently, then you're okay. So here I'm trying to make it better. So let's see what else we can do. Let me start recording some of the dynamics. And I have a nice controller, Sparrow. It's called Sparrow. I really like it. It's 3D printed, but it has 5 bars and they're, I believe, 90mm span. It works great. Now let's do the other one. Here I'm testing the idea before I actually record it. So I'm moving the controller and I'm balancing the volume, just so when I record the dynamics, I know what I'm doing. I'm just making sure it's set up correctly. Now for the bass. I may leave the bass as is actually. It's fine. I'll combine these. They're the same note. I mean, this is a demo. I don't want to overdo it too and bore you to death. Something didn't sound right. So sometimes when I'm not sure who's at fault, but either the library forgets what the last value was, or the controller doesn't transmit that value, but we can fix it. So this one is, because I have too many C's here, it's sounding, I don't know, different. So I'm gonna fix that. Normally the bass doubles the cello, but in this case I'm just gonna separate the bass from the cello at least. At least there, let's see. Yeah, I like it, it's not bad. Okay, let's continue adding some woodwind. We'll try the unison first out of the box. Just changing the color, it's stacked on top of the string. That color is not nice, but I'll try to do something here just to show you how this library sometimes can inspire you. It does things that you don't expect. Here you can set the chord. I mean, you can get happy accidents. You can get sad accidents. You don't want to create lots of accidents and make your composition by accident. But it helps you quickly to create, as you can see, ideas. Now I'm moving the section from the light blue to the red to the darker blue to sound more majory, like more major. And that's part of the engine, the way the engine works. And now I'm building the chord. Sounds still like an organ. Too much color, maybe. Yeah, no, that's too much. At least for this case. So I'll just do like octave on that one. Much better. The last note's still not great. Also, I want to ramp this up slowly, not in your face from the beginning. Now, by doing this, maybe I'll end up writing a script. Basically, I want to be able to copy and paste, but I want to change the dynamics according to a straight line like that. I'll work on it sometime. I think that would be a good program to write. It kind of, in the end, becomes brighter, but because we're playing chords, like each note here is an actual chord, if you play the E, it may throw in some arrangements that you don't want. Maybe a fifth from E is a C, but maybe too many C's. But if I move that to G, I guess sounds better. And yeah, so I'll stick with that sound. And that's the thing with the colors library. You have to consider these things, but it can really save you time by doing the arrangement for you, especially when you're testing ideas, or you're like me, not necessarily someone who does this for a living. Or maybe you do this for a living and you just want to produce something and show it to someone in 2 days, for example, and you don't want to worry about individual articulations. So now I'm moving to brass. I want to add something in the brass, but I don't think I want to go for the low frequencies. Maybe I will. But here I want to use one of the Reaper's plugins, which is a sequencer. And I'm trying to remember how to do this. I think I want to go to some C4 or C5, maybe C4. That did not work as I thought it will. Let me see. So it's not sound issue. I haven't done this in a while. I'm sure it's something silly. And of course the sequencer has to be before the library because it's sending the sequences to the library. So the nice thing is you still get your melody and you can attach additional notes. I can do these in the track, but let's just do this for now. Always play C, which is the root for this composition. Now, I did not go and check all the dissonance and all that stuff. It sounded good to my ear, though. We can see how it all sounds together. So the bass, the brass can really cut through the composition if it's played at high volume. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to use brass. They can overpower your symphony, especially when they accompany it and they're not playing a main line. So what I'm doing here is you can do things like duplicate the track, and I want to play different sequence halfway through the composition. So I duplicated it. I'm trying to see if there's a way within this sequencer, but I don't want to spend too much time here. So I'll just cut it and change it. So again, if you duplicate things, you don't want to play the same notes. You'll create phasing issues. And phasing issues happens when you play the same exact wave file, and if it's slightly different in its start time, it's not exactly overlaid on top of each other. It will create interference patterns, and it will sound wavy. There you go. That's kind of gave the idea. So I want this to be played with at least the main line to give it some articulation. And oops, my MIDI controller is still tied to MuseScore, so I cannot use it here without closing MuseScore. So what I'm gonna have to do is to go in and change it manually. See, right now the dynamics is set up by this line, but I want the velocity to control it because I'm playing short notes. I find it easier to control it note by note. Otherwise, you have to time your dynamics with every note. And obviously here I'm testing it. I'm testing to see if it's a function of the dynamics curve here or not. And if it's not, we can change it within the plugin and change dynamics to be velocity controlled. And we can enable other things to make it extra juicy, so to speak. So the way I'm doing the dynamics here is inspired by string players, downstroke, upstroke, although you don't necessarily have that on the brass instrument, of course, but the general pattern, I guess the ear is accustomed to the pa-ra-ha-ra-ta, you know, and also this is 4/4, well, this is smaller than that, but that kind of pattern, at least I like it here. Sometimes you go descending, ascending, but now for the violin, let's change the dynamics or the articulation. I like this. It's like it's talking. It's singing to someone, not just in your face, always rubbing on the string. Now the last note could have been sustained, but I'm gonna ignore that for now. And if I cut these ends, it will stop playing. It will not keep playing the sequence patterns. Okay. I like the sequence. Especially that it's aligned with the violin, the first violin. It's as if they're kind of talking together. I'm removing the last note so that by the end of the composition, it's really not in your face. And I don't want also the ear to always think brass, brass, brass. So this is the section 2. Maybe I want to separate it, so to speak, from section 1. You can do that by adding depth. You can add more reverberation, make it add reverberation, make it not as loud. So let's open both and compare the panning and things like that. So you know what? I see lots of charts where the violin 1 is way on the left. Yeah, let's try to mimic that. So the full composition now. Yeah, it's getting there. We're still missing some choir, I guess. We can add that. So now I'm adding things here that they're not really notated here, but that's okay. That gives the idea. I'm not trying to sell this score, and neither I think I'll have customers for it. But anyway, so we copy pasted this, but I want this choir, but I wanted to enable all of the lines, and probably I don't want this to be sustained. I want it to be staccato, for example. And I'm trying to think in my head how I want it to sound. I'm trying to make it sound like a conversation. So I have the lines, so I have the violin playing the first thing, and I don't want it to step over it. I want it to answer the violin. So because, you know, in the beginning we have the violin and the trumpet going pum pum pum. I want this also to be female voice, because the trumpet, I guess I kept the lower volumes too. And let's see. No voice is coming because I have the male voice here. You see the lower range is being played. So if I have to shift everything higher to get a female voice. Oops, I selected the whole thing. That can be a recipe for trouble. That's more like it. So let me try to put them there. Some kind of canonish. I'm trying to do go up and then follow it in thirds. So I'm just trying to harmonize it here and see how it sounds. So in my head kind of sounds okay, but my head is not always thinking correctly. So let's see how that will give it a go. That may be too high, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Yeah, that's not what I want. Too high. Yeah. It's too many notes, right? Your brain is shifting focus. It's coming early, so it's taking away all the attention, and that's not the intention here. The intention is not to take all the attention. Okay, I guess that I can work with that, at least to start here. So I do have, maybe let's align the first note, I guess, maybe align. So I'm thinking like it starts where the other one ends, or almost about to end, and continues from there. Gives it kind of nice continuation. I like it. It's kind of going tan tare para pam. So it's connecting the it's connecting both measures nicely, especially that the violin now is tenato. That's making me think that the measure should start with here. Bam. But let's keep it as is. It's subject to interpretation where you want to the main beats to be. I like it as is still. It kind of gives it that nice. Again, something is happening, right? It gives it motion. That's the word I'm looking for. So let me follow through with the pattern. And remember, these are just how many measures were they? 4 or 5 measures, something like that. Can you imagine doing this for 30 measures? But I guess experts can just do it within the MuseScore or whatever professional software they use, and it all works out in their head. Then the mock-up is much easier for them. So let me align this one. I guess I was always aligning in the previous measures, so there's no reason I shouldn't align that here. The only thing here is the F is much larger distance than, it's not a third, it's actually a fourth from the C. Actually now the B follows nicely to the C. Now I have my leading tone and resolving to C. Now it's clear that it's getting resolved because it's, you know, different timbre or timbre, not timbre. That's too much, way too much. No, I don't want that. Something is wrong here. Oh, I forgot a note. Now remember, we have dissonance whenever we're not playing C, because the trumpet is playing C, C, C in the first few measures. But that's fine. I mean, it's not resolved. We want to resolve the tension. Oh, that's not what I want. That's not what I want, yeah. So if that's C, E, let me see what I can have here for my chord. So that was G, although it's G, I don't really, I mean, in theory it works, but nope, nope, I don't want that. Yeah, way better. And that's probably because the steps, you know, in the previous measures were the same, so the ear got used to that. Too loud in the end. Yeah, these are too loud. Oops, that's my woodwind though. Let me make it velocity controlled. And here I think I wanted to, yeah, I want to focus on the last one in the measure. Tahara. You know, it's not the main line, so it's okay to not be strongest. I don't want it actually to be strong on the first beat of the measure. And you can see these are extreme different velocities the way I'm setting it up. Except the end, I want it to build up to the tension before resolution. Now we added, I believe, what we wanted to add. Now let's try to add some, fanciness to this. See the impact. Even if we do it wrong, we can learn a lot by doing wrong things. At least you know when things work. My favorite compressor in Reaper is this Rex compressor. It's multi-band compressor. It works nice for orchestra tools in general, because you have so many different instruments going on and you may want to highlight different things. Actually, you may want to insert the compressor in different areas. Like I always set up my equalizer. Now I'm setting up the equalizer. I always lower the high range and the lower range, because the lower range, many speakers really may be flawed and can over amplify that. And also the high range, I don't trust the age, my age, and I may be losing hearing in that frequency. I don't want hearing fatigue to happen. So for these reasons, I always set the curve like that, unless I can have multiple listeners. So that's how it sounds after the equalization. It's a bit too loud, but let's try to play with that. So the band you want to shine, so to speak, or don't bring it louder, you can compress it. So you can hear the differences between adding it and not adding it. And also if I exaggerate the gain, yeah, that's just an extreme case. If you want to barely do compression, even 2.5 in my opinion for this kind of music, I don't know, it's been recorded correctly, right? The assumption is all of this has been taken care of. This is just to try to balance it. You may not even need it, right? You may, but the reason why I'm adding this, just for the trumpets, I want them to shine, but I don't want them to be loud. But by adding this, it added mud in that area. And why? Well, I can reduce the mud here, but that would be ironic. I just compressed it to highlight it, but then I'm kind of attenuate that frequency. So I have to think, where is my mud coming from? But first, let's see. We have to think about that. And I believe it's the string section, because we have so many sections, with reverb and all of that stuff. Things can get really nasty quickly. So let me remove the mud from the string, attenuate that frequency. I forgot to select the my node. I was wondering why it's not working. Okay, there you go. Maybe it's more than I want to, but that's fine. If I have so many things going on there, I have to do something. In the end, it has to sound good. Let me scan for the mud, I guess. Here it sounds bright. And that's basically what we have. We have our main liners, we have all of this fancy stuff. Let's give it a go and we can shut down the video after I play. But yeah, if you like this or if you have suggestions, feel free to tell me what I'm doing wrong. This library is nice to my ears. You can do a lot with it. And let's give it a go.